She ordered a 5-star butler, but discovered the incredible love of a single dad and his barefoot kids. Jessica was all about appearances, tall, confident, and the executive at the top of everyone's list in the bustling town of Maplewood. In her world filled with designer suits and polished shoes, she had long lost sight of the meaning of true connection. The pressure of her demanding career and the relentless social functions left no room for genuine relationships. Tired of juggling her upscale lifestyle, she decided to give in to luxury and hired a 5-star butler service, expecting someone who could keep her perfectly curated life in check. But when Matt arrived in a worn shirt and faded pants, she felt a jolt. A man who didn't match her expectations. Who was this scruffy single dad, really? With a scoff, Jessica turned her attention back to her phone, dismissing him as just another person unworthy of her time. She had no intention of indulging in the life stories of those beneath her gilded tower. She simply couldn't open her eyes to the struggles that existed outside her high-rise office. Days passed, and a sudden storm trampled through Maplewood, leaving families in darkness and chaos. For the first time, Jessica caught a glimpse of the strength that Matt had to offer when he stepped into the storm, rallying his neighbors and making sure they had food, blankets, and a sense of hope. Staring from her office, Jessica's heart tightened as she watched Matt take charge. He balanced 2 kids on his hips and organized a frantic search for flashlights, with a warmth in his voice that cut through the cold rain. Those bare feet of his, she noted, stood on strong roots of resilience and compassion, stirring something deep within her. Watching him weave through the community like a lifeline made her realize she had long turned her back on the very essence of connection. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm passed, Jessica couldn't help but feel a pull toward the warmth of community that seemed to shine a light on all the struggles she had avoided. Matt's example began to redefine her understanding of success. Was it those fleeting achievements in the corporate world, or was it connections rooted in love, sacrifice, and support? A pivotal moment approached when a vital project at work threatened to crash through her newfound understanding. The choice loomed over her: chase after the promotion that had once felt like the pinnacle of life, or honor the relationships she had tentatively begun to build, especially with Matt. The neighborhood meeting that followed bristled with tension. Voices flew and emotions ran high, but Jessica found strength in standing beside Matt as he fought for unity and understanding among the neighbors. As the heated dialogue quieted into introspection, she turned to him. In that moment, the truth of it all hit her. There was a world beyond the glass, a world that embraced love, sacrifice, and genuine connection, while she was busy chasing an illusion. Just then, the announcement rang out like a gavel. Her dream promotion waited just across the horizon. The catch? Moving away from Maplewood, leaving behind Matt and a community that felt more like home than any boardroom could. Jessica blinked, the air charged with uncertainty. Would she choose the prestige she had clung to as her identity, or leap into this raw, beautiful chaos of love that beckoned her like no other ambition ever could? As she stood there, poised on the edge of 2 worlds, one question carved its way through the merging paths. What did it truly mean to love and be loved? Jessica could feel her heart racing as the room around her began to fade. The announcement echoed in her mind like a heartbeat, a constant reminder of what she stood to gain, the shiny facade of success she had chased for so long. The promotion, the title, the prestige. But what she had witnessed in the past few days stirred something in her that prestige never could. Matt's laughter as he chased after his kids, the way he effortlessly blended into the community, it all brought a warmth she hadn't known in years. They were not just neighbors, they were a fabric of hearts, intertwined and bold. She could see it now, the beauty of belonging, of connections as real as the earth beneath her feet. With a deep breath, she looked back at Matt, who was still speaking passionately about the need for unity, his eyes alight with purpose. Jessica, he said, catching her gaze. We can do this together. We've built something here, right in the middle of chaos. She felt a fire inside her. Could she walk away from this? The thought of leaving felt heavy, like a dark cloud hovering over her. The reality of the boardroom, the late nights, the endless meetings suddenly felt suffocating. The laughter of the kids outside danced in her ears, a sharp contrast to the sterile silence of her office. Could she really do this to shift her priorities, to embrace a life of real connection? Then, the silence in the room shattered as one man stood up, his voice trembling with emotion. If we lose Jessica, we lose our chance at something wonderful. A murmur swept through the room. Jessica's heart swelled. That she could bring something beneficial to this community, it meant more than any deal she'd ever closed. As eyes turned to her, she felt an escalation of something raw and fulfilling, a thirst for belonging. Listen, she paused, steeling herself. I've been so focused on what I thought success was. It's always been about climbing higher, but I didn't see the beauty in the connections I was ignoring. Everyone here is so united and strong, despite the chaos. Matt's smile encouraged her to go on. I want to be part of this. To fight for Maplewood, and not just my dreams. My heart is here. Tentative applause erupted, and warmth spread through her once cold heart. Yet the weight of her decision loomed over her. As tears prickled at the edges of her vision, she realized this was more than a choice between two paths. This was a rebirth. As she stepped back from the podium, Matt approached her. Are you all right? He asked softly, his eyes searching hers. I think I finally see how much I have to lose, she admitted softly. But it's not just a job. It's a life that could be filled with love and support. I'm scared. Good, Matt said, a gentle smile playing on his lips. You should be scared. Change is daunting, but it can also be beautiful. Jessica took a deep breath, filled with the warmth of connection. Just then, another neighbor burst through the door, panting and breathless. You won't believe this. A new storm is coming. We need to prepare. As the words hung in the air, Jessica felt a rush, a call to action. The storm outside was merely a metaphor for the choices yet to be made. Would she muster the courage to step into the fray beside Matt and the community? All right, she said boldly, let us get to work. In that moment of collective motion, she knew that her life was changing. While she had once stood at the feet of corporate ladders, she now stood alongside a community that was ready to weather any storm, united by love. And amid the chaos of preparations, Jessica found herself looking forward more than ever. The question remained, though, would she truly be willing to weather both the storms inside and out, and would that warmth she felt towards Matt evolve into something deeper? The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue over Maplewood as Jessica and the neighbors sprang into action. There was a sense of urgency in the air, but it wasn't laced with panic. It was the kind of frantic energy that felt alive and hopeful. Kids scampered around with makeshift supplies, while adults formed teams, organizing what they could to get ready for the storm. Jessica's heart raced not from fear, but from the thrill of it all. She found herself moving beside Matt, who was rallying a group to fortify their homes, gathering tools and equipment like he was orchestrating a symphony. His laughter broke through the tension, wrapping everyone in a shared spirit of determination. Hey, you're doing great! Jessica encouraged as she handed him a roll of duct tape. He flashed a wide grin at her, the kind that sent a flutter through her chest. Just doing my part, he replied, rolling the tape around his hand. And keeping you in one piece, too. She felt a blush creeping up her cheeks. Flirting in the middle of a community emergency, it seemed absurd. Yet, somehow, it felt right. As twilight descended, neighbors congregated in front of Matt's house. They collected their ideas and fears, flipping them into plans. Someone suggested a neighborhood watch group during the storm, and the conversation took on a life of its own. In that moment, Jessica realized they weren't just preparing for the weather, they were weaving a safety net of memories, trust, and togetherness. When the wind picked up, Matt turned to Jessica. You ready for this? He asked, his brow furrowed in concern. Jessica thought back to her life just days ago. The promotions, the meetings, it all seemed so disconnected, like a faraway memory. Now, standing alongside the people of Maplewood, she felt alive in ways she had never imagined. More than ready, Jessica replied, her voice firm. Lead the way. With the foundation of their community and the bonds tightening around them, they scavenged for materials while others started fortifying doorways and windows. Each task became less about survival and more about collaboration, a collective effort to shelter their hearts as much as their homes. As they worked, Jessica found herself naturally gravitating toward Matt. They exchanged glances that held more than words could say. He made silly jokes, and though she noticed exhaustion etched onto his features, his spirit seemed unyielded. It flickered like a flame, drawing her closer. In a pause between tasks, Jessica handed a cookie from a snack table to Matt. He raised an eyebrow. You're feeding me now? She chuckled. We can't have you collapsing on us, can we? With the cookie in hand, he took a hearty bite, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I might just keep you around for snacks. The warmth of his laughter filled the air. Then, suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Dark clouds rolled in, and the wind howled louder, carrying an ominous sound. The group stilled, their faces drawn with concern. We need to finish this, Matt said, urgency threading his tone. Jessica felt a wave of anticipation surge within her. This was the moment. They were on the cusp of something significant, and she needed to be ready. Whatever we have to do, I'm all in, Jessica declared, raising her fists in solidarity. The cheer that erupted around her solidified her resolve. But even as she felt exhilarated, a shadow of doubt danced at the edges of her mind. Could she really step away from the life she had built? Just then, a loud crack of thunder echoed in the distance, reminding them they were fighting against more than just their own fears. As the rain began to fall, Jessica realized this storm could change everything. Would it strengthen the newfound connections she was forming, or expose cracks she didn't know existed? With hope battling anxiety, Jessica squared her shoulders. One way or another, she was ready to face it all. As they rallied once more, preparing for the impending storm, she whispered a prayer, for both the weather outside and the one brewing inside her heart. The rain came down in sheets, a relentless curtain of water that pounded the ground and made everything slick. Jessica could barely hear herself think over the roar of the storm. But within the chaos, there was a clarity that swept through her, the sheer urgency to support her neighbors. Together, they formed a human chain, passing supplies down the line, sharing laughter amidst the tension, and finding strength in their shared purpose. Matt was at the front, guiding the group with firm, encouraging words. Keep it steady. We're almost done, he called out, as he wrangled tarps and ladders. Jessica felt a certainty in her heart, a connection to him that seemed to flourish with every second spent side by side. It was like he was weaving a tapestry of courage, and she was eager to be a part of it. As they built makeshift barriers, their hands brushed occasionally, sending shivers through her. Each touch felt electric, sparking something deep within her that she had long dismissed. The world may have threatened to crumble around them, but here, under the shelter of their determination, new possibilities were forming. In a moment of respite, they ducked into the safety of a neighbor's garage. It reeked of gasoline and had a musty smell, but there was comfort in being shielded from the storm. The group huddled together, shaking off the rain and catching their breath. Matt caught Jessica's eye, the corners of his mouth lifting in that infectious smile. Glad to have you here, he said, wiping water from his brow. Jessica felt a heat in her cheeks, wondering if he could see what only she sensed, the deeper layers of their connection. I can't believe how quickly this came together, she replied, a spark of hope threading through her words. It's amazing what we can do when we stand together, isn't it? Absolutely, he agreed, leaning closer. We're stronger when we're a team. The brief pause felt monumental. In that dim light, surrounded by friends turned family, a sense of belonging anchored itself in Jessica's heart. Just think, she said slowly, this storm may change everything. Maybe it's not just the weather we're preparing for. Maybe it's a whole new start for all of us. Matt's gaze softened, and for a moment, Jessica could see a hint of his own vulnerabilities. I've been thinking the same, he admitted. Life has been complicated. I feel like something is shifting here, and I'm excited about what is to come. The rain drummed against the roof, a chaos outside that mirrored the emotions surging within. Jessica could hardly believe how much had changed in just hours. The bond she felt with Matt, the laughter shared with neighbors, these moments were transforming her perception of home. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the garage, and the lights flickered ominously. Gasps pierced the air as confusion erupted around them. Stay calm, Matt urged, his voice cutting through the fear, but Jessica noticed the tension in his jaw. We can't let this stop us, she said, determined now more than ever. Let us finish what we started. As they stumbled back into the storm, she felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. Every step felt like a leap into the unknown. Together, they moved forward, the energy surging among them like an unspoken promise. But deep inside, a precarious question lingered. What if the storm didn't just test their homes, but also threatened to rewrite their lives? With the gravity of that thought weighing on her, Jessica turned to Matt, who was now visibly tense, scanning the almost unrecognizable street through the downpour. Whatever happens, we face it together, she said, clenching her fists. And just then, as if responding to her declaration, the heavens opened. The storm roared louder. They had stepped into battle, but what would they emerge as? When it passed, just ahead, another crack of lightning lit up the sky, revealing a figure staggering in the rain. Someone was out there, and Jessica felt her heart race in a very different way. Who could it be? The figure emerged from the shadows, drenched and disoriented. As the next flash of lightning illuminated the scene, Jessica squinted, desperately trying to make out the person's features. It was a man, clinging to a backpack as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. Hey! Are you okay? She shouted above the thunder, her voice straining to cut through the heavy rain. He stumbled closer, his eyes wide with a mixture of relief and panic. I got lost trying to find shelter. This storm came out of nowhere. Matt stepped forward, steadying himself. You made it just in time, he called out, a hint of authority in his voice. We're helping everyone stay safe. Come on, get inside. Jessica watched as Matt reached out a hand to the stranger, pulling him into their makeshift alliance. There was something about this man that made her intrigue deepen. He looked weathered but determined, a certain resilience behind his eyes. As they hurried back toward the garage, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that his presence would change everything. The group rallied around him, passing him a towel and some dry clothes. They were bonding, sharing stories amidst the chaos, laughter mingling with the sound of rain battering the roof. Thanks for helping, the newcomer said, wrapping the towel around his shoulders. His voice was warm, genuine. I'm Jake, by the way. Jessica felt Matt shift beside her, and she turned to see his expression was one of cautious curiosity. I'm Matt, and this is Jessica. We're just doing what we can to help our neighbors, he said, his voice steady but laced with an underlying edge. Was it jealousy? Yeah, it's incredible how everyone has come together, Jessica added, trying to lighten the mood. You wouldn't think a storm could spark such teamwork? Jake chuckled quietly, his smile breaking through the tension. It's true. Nature has a weird way of bringing people together. Something about that shared laughter made her heart swell. Under the pressure of the storm, with fear lurking just outside, hope flickered in its own odd way too. It was a reminder that sometimes adversity could lead to connections that felt like destiny. But as the evening wore on, Jessica's thoughts wandered. She couldn't deny the electric pull she felt towards Matt, yet Jake's quiet charm held an allure she hadn't anticipated. What if this storm changes more than our houses? She mused, turning back to them. Just then, another crash of thunder jolted the group, and a splinter of wood cracked from the nearby fence. They all jumped at the jarring sound, clinging a little tighter to one another. Jake instinctively reached for Jessica's arm, a protective gesture that sent warmth coursing through her. Let us focus on getting everyone home safely, Matt said, rallying the group. But once it settles down, maybe we can check on the damage together? I can't go it alone. Jessica's heart raced. There was a decision to be made here, a path diverging before her and an urgency to explore where it might lead. "I do like that," she said, locking eyes with both men. Matt's hope and Jake's warmth grounded her emotions in a storm of uncertainty. The wind howled outside, drowning out any lingering hesitation. In that moment of chaos, one thought solidified in Jessica's mind: choices were all that mattered now, and she was ready to face them. But what would that choice mean, not just for her, but for the bonds growing stronger in the storm's wake? Would the aftermath bring clarity or complexity? The atmosphere shifted when Jake looked into Jessica's eyes. The storm raged around them, yet in that moment, everything outside faded away: the pounding rain, the cracking thunder, even her own swirling thoughts. He smiled, that genuine warmth igniting something deep inside her. "Are you sure you two want to venture out after this?" Jake asked, glancing toward the garage door, where the wind howled like a wild animal. "It doesn't look like the storm is letting up any time soon." "Just a quick check," Matt insisted, his voice thick with determination. "We need to figure out what's going on outside." Jessica caught the anxious tension between them, a silent tug-of-war for her attention that left her torn. She wanted to support Matt and his protective instincts, but Jake had a calm assurance that felt magnetic. "Maybe we should wait until the storm eases a bit," Jessica suggested, trying to temper the urgency while noting the worry in Matt's eyes. "I can't just sit here," Matt said, his jaw set resolutely. "What if someone needs us?" Jake raised an eyebrow, as if parsing out Matt's hidden motivations. "It's about more than just helping others, isn't it?" he asked. "You're worried about your own home too. Something is driving that determination." Jessica felt the weight of the moment. They weren't just facing a storm outside, they were navigating conflicting emotions and deeper fears. She took a deep breath, feeling the thick, humid air as a reminder of their precarious situation. "Might be best to stick together," she said at last. "What if we all just go out there? Strength in numbers?" She glanced at both men. "After all, it's not like we can predict what the storm will throw at us next." They shared a look. A fragile alliance formed in the heart of chaos. Jake nodded, but the spark of tension still lingered, a silent acknowledgement that this decision weighed heavily on all three of them. As the rain continued to pound against the roof, they gathered flashlights and sturdy shoes from the garage supplies. Jessica could feel the adrenaline bubbling deep inside her, a mixture of excitement and dread coursing through her. "Okay, let us make a plan," Matt said, taking charge again as they stepped outside into the storm. The wind whipped their faces, causing them to huddle close together. The darkness felt advanced, illuminated only by the intermittent flashes of lightning. The three of them waded through puddles and debris, scanning their surroundings. Matt led the way, and Jake kept a vigilant eye on Jessica, always within arm's reach. There was a strange sense of camaraderie forming, each of them feeling the genuine need to support the others against the fury of nature. Suddenly, they heard a distant cry, someone's voice cutting through the chaos. The sound was haunting, pleading. Jessica's heart raced. "Did you hear that?" she shouted, eyes darting toward the source. Jake stiffened and turned in the direction of the sound. It could be someone in trouble. Matt's grip on the flashlight tightened. "Let us go." They raced toward the voice, driven by an instinctual pull to help. Thunder roared above them, and the wind raged like a tempest. Jessica felt the flicker of determination, but beneath it, fear lurked, urging her to reconsider the chase. And then, amidst the raucous noise, came another scream, a gut-wrenching sound that sent chills down her spine. What have we gotten ourselves into? She wondered, her heart battling against the growing anxiety. What lay ahead in the storm's dark embrace? Jessica had no idea how this rescue would turn their fragile web of relationships upside down. But she knew one thing: choices were being made, and they would shape their lives in ways they could never have imagined. As they barreled into the storm, an unsettling thought gripped her: how far would they go to save a stranger? They moved fast, navigating through the chaos. Jessica felt the tension crackling in the air as the wind whipped her face. The distant scream pulled them forward, a harrowing reminder of what was at stake. Every step was heavy as they waded deeper into the storm's grip. Matt, ever the leader, called out, "Stay close." We don't know what we're walking into. His voice held an urgency that resonated with Jessica, but she couldn't shake the feeling of dread gnawing at her gut. Flashes of lightning illuminated the scene ahead, revealing broken branches and scattered debris littering the ground. The rain soaked them to the bone, but this physical discomfort paled against the looming uncertainty of the voice's owner. There! Jake pointed into the dark, his flashlight beam cutting through the rain. I see something. Jessica squinted, trying to make out the figure struggling beneath fallen branches. It was a woman, her clothes torn and filthy, hands frantically pushing against the weight pressing down on her. Help! She cried, her voice trembling with panic. The sight struck deep within Jessica. She felt a wave of empathy wash over her. They were all afraid, but this woman was trapped, alone, with no one to pull her out. Let us live together, Matt ordered, rushing forward. The three of them converged on the fallen branches, their bodies working in sync as they began to pull them off. Careful! Jake warned, glancing back at Jessica, his concern palpable. Watch your step. Moments stretched out painfully as they struggled against the weight of the debris. The woman let out a whimper with every branch pulled away, and Jessica could see the desperation in her eyes, matching the fear that churned in her own chest. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they cleared the last of the branches, revealing the woman fully. She gasped, her face smeared with dirt and tears. Thank you? Thank you? She panted, scrambling away from the damp ground. Matt stepped back, letting her catch her breath. Are you hurt? He scanned her for any signs of serious injury. I don't know. She pressed her hands against her legs, trembling. I was trying to get to my kids. They're inside the house. I think it collapsed. Jessica's heart sank even further. Where? We have to get to them. The woman pointed, her face falling into fear. Just down the street. The wind, it's horrible. Without hesitation, Matt turned to them, eyes fierce. We have to go. We can't leave them. The urgency swept over Jessica, igniting a spark of determination. They had already risked so much. They couldn't stop now. They pelted down the street, the howling storm swallowing their footsteps. But as they ran, another scream pierced through the chaos, this one more desperate. Jessica's heart lurched. What if it's too late? She thought, her mind racing. The choices they were making cascaded like the falling rain, each one critical, each one pivotal. Jake caught her gaze, sensing her turmoil. We'll find them. We have to believe that. In that moment, fear and hope intertwined, lighting a fire in Jessica's chest. The storm raged, but they had each other, pushing through the darkness together. But as they approached the house the woman had indicated, dread filled Jessica. What awaited them behind those walls? Would they truly be able to save the children, or would the storm claim them too? With each thundering heartbeat, she felt the reality of their choices crashing down on them. How far were they willing to go? And now, more than ever, could they face the truth of their own fears? As they reached the edge of the yard, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. What would they find in the wreckage ahead? Jessica could barely breathe as they reached the end of the yard, a mix of rain and tears obscuring her vision. The house that once stood proud now lay in shambles, its walls crumbling, windows shattered. It felt as if the storm had ripped apart not just the structure, but also their very hopes. Is anyone inside? Matt shouted, cupping his hands around his mouth. The wind howled back, mocking their desperate inquiry. The only response was a low rumble of thunder, filling the air with an ominous weight. No! The woman shook her head, anxiety etched across her face. They were in the living room when it happened. Jessica felt her gut twist. Living room. That's where the roof caved in. She took a step forward, heart racing. If they were trapped under that debris, every second counted. Stay back, Matt commanded as he moved closer to the wreckage. It was safer to keep a distance from the jagged edges, but he couldn't bear the thought of waiting. Each second felt like an eternity. Jake, come with me. We need to check. Jake nodded and fell in beside him, while Jessica hesitated, torn between the urge to follow and the instinct to stay safe. She forced herself to take a step, still feeling the weight of the woman's gaze drilling into her. "Please," the woman said, her voice breaking. "My children, I can't lose them too." That plea snapped something inside Jessica. She barreled forward, adrenaline pumping through her veins. "What's their names?" Jessica yelled, hoping to ground herself in the chaos. If she could focus on those names, perhaps she could keep the fear at bay. "Lily and Ben," the mother cried, her face flushed with desperation. "They're only 6 and 8. Please hurry." Matt and Jake began moving debris, grunting with effort as they tossed aside branches and slabs of wood. Jessica worked alongside them, fingers numb and hands raw, but she couldn't stop. The thought of those children kept her going, thrumming in her heart like a mantra. Minutes felt like hours. Each piece they removed revealed more devastation, and Jessica's hope began to fray. With every handful of rubble, all she could think about was the ceiling that could have come crashing down on the children. "Where are you?" she whispered, and then the faintest sound. It was muffled, but there was no mistaking it. The unmistakable giggle of a child. "Did you hear that?" Jessica gasped, her heart leaping. "I think I heard one of them." "Hurry!" Matt's face was set in grim determination. They could be in serious trouble. Their speed intensified as they worked, fueled by a renewed sense of urgency. The storm's fury didn't matter now, they were on a mission. "Lily! Ben!" Jake shouted, voice strained. "If you can hear us, make a noise!" There was a pause that felt infinite, and for a moment, fear rushed back in full force. But then, small rhythmic thumps echoed from beneath the fallen beams. "Mommy!" A voice, small yet strong, broke through the debris, and Jessica felt a flood of warmth wash over her. "They're alive!" She glanced at the woman, who was weeping with relief. "They're alive!" Just then, Matt uncovered a beam that had trapped 2 small figures beneath. Dust and grime covered their small faces, but beneath all that, their spirits sparkled like diamonds. "Lily! Ben!" the mom cried, stretching her hands towards them. But as Matt reached for the children, the earth beneath them trembled. A new surge of wind swept through, and cracks began to thread through the remaining structure. "Get out! Now!" Matt shouted, urgency rising, his heart racing. The storm was more relentless than ever, and Jessica could feel panic surging. Would they make it? Could they escape this collapsing nightmare? Then she turned, the weight of the house pressing down on her. Would they risk it all? Bracing herself, she took a deep breath, steeling her resolve. What if they could emerge victorious from this chaos, or would this storm rip apart all their dreams forever? With the storm howling around them, Jessica felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. She froze for a moment, the air heavy with uncertainty. The children might be within reach, but they were trapped under that debris. Time was slipping through her fingers like the rain. "Matt, we have to get them out!" she yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. The urgency in her tone snapped Matt into action again. "Keep digging!" he shouted back, his jaw clenched tight. Sweat mingled with rain as he dashed aside more debris. "Lily! Ben!" Jake continued to call, his voice echoing through the wreckage. "We're coming! Hold on!" Each shout sent a fresh wave of hope crashing against the fear that threatened to engulf them. The rhythmic thumps underneath the rubble had quieted, and Jessica's heart sank. What if they're hurt? What if the worst thoughts flooded her mind, and she shook her head, fighting to stay focused. Then she saw a glimmer of small fingers sticking out from beneath a large beam. "There!" she cried out, pointing. "I can see them!" But just as the words escaped her lips, the wind howled louder, and the house groaned ominously. Matt and Jake paused, looking up at the fragility of the remaining structure. The urgency morphed into a frantic race against time. "Move back!" Matt yelled. "If this comes down on us, we're all done for." "No!" the mother's voice echoed with pure desperation. "My babies are still there." Tears streamed down her cheeks, mixing with the rain. Jessica felt an overwhelming need to comfort her, but didn't he dare take her eyes off the kids beneath the wreckage. Just one more push! Jessica screamed, clenching her fists in determination. They needed to get to those children now while there was still a chance. Matt and Jake moved together, pushing against the rubble with renewed strength. Jessica joined them, her body screaming in protest. In that fleeting moment, time ceased to matter. All that existed was the singular focus of saving those innocent lives. The beam shifted slightly, a creak echoing ominously, but Jessica's heart soared. "Hold on, we're coming!" she shouted, her voice tremulous yet powerful. With a final heave, they pushed aside a large piece of debris. Dust flew into the air, and Jessica leaned down, panic and hope mingling in her heart. "Lily! Ben! Are you okay?" she pleaded, her voice tight with emotion. Bright eyes met hers, wide with fear and confusion. Their faces, once hidden, appeared smudged and pale, but they were alive. "Help us! Mommy!" Ben cried, his little voice shaky but filled with hope, and then Jessica's heart broke as she saw the fear on their mother's face. The way she strained towards her children, just craving to wrap them in her arms. "Get them out! I can't lose them!" the woman was imploring, her body trembling with grief and fear. Just then, the ground shook again. The house was not done falling apart yet. Frantic thoughts filled Jessica's mind. They had to move fast. Could they make it out alive? She looked at Matt and Jake, their own faces reflecting a mix of dread and determination. "On 3, we lift it!" Matt commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. As they counted, Jessica glanced between the children and their mother, seeing the bond that held them together, the love stitched into their survival. 1, 2, 3. With an immense effort, they lifted the beam. The storm raged on, an unyielding specter, but at that moment, it felt as if the world narrowed down to just the 4 of them. Would they be able to reach the children in time? Would the love of a mother be enough to overcome nature's fury? Jessica held her breath as they shifted the weight to see what lay beneath. Would their decision cost them everything, or would it prove to be their greatest victory yet? With a final, all-consuming push, they lifted the beam high enough for the children to wriggle free. The moment felt like a slow-motion movie scene, breaths held tight like strong fishing lines. When Ben and Lily stumbled into the open air, gasping and crying, Jessica felt a surge of warmth she never knew could exist. It was an explosion of love and relief, thick enough to drown out the howling storm. "Mommy!" The children's voices rang out, broken but strong. "Mommy!" They ran to the woman, who was weeping openly now, arms outstretched with an urgency that spoke volumes about their connection. As they collided into her embrace, racked with sobs, Jessica felt the tightness in her chest loosen. But just then, a sharp rumble and crack shook the ground, jerking them all back into the present danger. "We have to go!" Matt shouted, and urgency snapped them back into action. "We can't leave the others!" Jessica yelled, desperation tinged with panic. They were on the edge of their own safety zone, surrounded by the chaos of a storm that threatened to take everything they had worked for. She looked back at Jake, who was offering a hand to help the woman stand, his expression unreadable. Her heart raced with uncertainty. "Hey!" Jake called, excitement and fear mixing in his voice. "There's another group up the street. We can get to them." Before they could even respond, Matt was sprinting toward the path where Jake had indicated, dragging Jessica along. "We have to help anyone we can. That's what we came out here for." A second of hesitation filled the air, but Jessica's instincts kicked in. Whatever they had just accomplished, they couldn't let it end on saving just 2 lives. They needed to do all they could. She followed Matt, her feet pounding against the ground, propelled by a newfound sense of purpose. Jake wasn't far behind them as they raced against the storm, fighting fierce winds and rain, which now felt like mere background noise. Their determination held them strong, their hearts racing as they maneuvered through the squall. They rounded the corner and found another scene of devastation. A woman was attempting to lift debris off an elderly man trapped beneath fallen boards. Without exchanging words, the 3 of them dove into action. Each moment felt electric, filled with a sense of destiny. Working together, they swiftly cleared the wreckage, exposing the man who grinned weakly at the rescuers above him. "Thank you? I thought I was done for," he gasped, relief flooding his features. "We've got you. Up you go!" Matt shouted, helping the man stand as he grasped onto them. Jessica could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, each heartbeat echoing secrets she used to ignore. The moment solidified their bond. They were no longer just individuals caught up in a storm. They were a team, a family united by the strength of compassion and a purpose larger than themselves. As they continued through the swirling chaos, helping where they could, Jessica found herself looking over at Jake, who caught her eye with that familiar spark of warmth. What was once a newfound fascination now blossomed into something more profound. Consciously, her thoughts drifted back to the moments spent with Matt, the bond that had formed by shared experience and struggle. And as they pushed forward, she realized something else. The depth of human connection was far more important than any promotion or title. When the storm finally began to ease, Jessica and her team emerged as battered heroes. Those they rescued were gathering beneath a nearby tree, grateful eyes searching for hope. The laughter and tears mingled in the cool air as they shared stories of survival. Everyone was alive and together, transformed amidst the wreckage. In that crowd, she looked between Jake's inviting smile and Matt's proud, reassuring presence. It was a powerful moment of realization. She didn't have to choose one path or the other. She could embrace both the love of a community and the warmth she felt being with Matt. There was strength in that choice, a beautiful chaos woven into the fabric of connection that transformed lives. As twilight draped its soft cover over Maplewood, Jessica felt a peace settle within her heart. Sometimes it took the fiercest of storms to pull back the blinds, to expose the truth that had always been there. People mattered. Connections mattered. And love, the true kind of love, was worth everything. In that revelatory moment, as families formed around her, Jessica knew she would never go back to that cold, empty ivory tower. She would ground herself in this new community, in the love she had unshackled from within. With her heart wide open, she took a step forward into the future, ready to embrace everything that came next. And as laughter erupted, as the children played and families reunited, Jessica felt her spirits soar higher than ever before. This is the call of a new beginning. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with your friends and family who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help others find this powerful message. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings on this ending. Let's discuss this journey together. Share instantly with at least 5 friends so they can join us in new stories. Your support is what keeps this channel alive. This is the moment to show your support.